Okay, so we're going to make an acorn squash soup today, cream acorn squash soup. And we're going to start out by sauteing off our vegetables first before we add stock to it. And I like to use whole butter for it. You can use olive oil, you can use canola oil, any type of oil. I stay away from peanut oils because there's so many allergies in the world nowadays that you really don't have to mess around. Stay with olive oil. So as our pot is getting hot, the butter will melt down. Reduce fast. Okay, so we're getting the butter nice and warm. I don't want it to brown because it can get away from you if it starts browning fast. So now that the butter is melted, we're going to add in some vegetables. Started by adding some onion and garlic. So we get a nice heat on that. And we want to kind of sweat the onions for about 5 minutes or so. You'll get a lot of flavor out of it. Onions are very sweet naturally, so the more you cook them, the sweeter they become. So we just want to sweat them for 5 minutes and let the natural sugar start coming out. And we're going to put fresh herbs in at the end. If you did not have fresh herbs, if you had dried herbs, I would saute them with my vegetables before I put stock on. When you saute off a dried herb, basil, oregano, nutmeg, something like that, you increase the flavor by toasting them and it brings out a deeper flavor to them than just putting it in and let it boil. Okay. All right, that's doing quite well here. We'll just put a little more vegetables in here. We have some celery. Now we'll put the carrots in. That's a good sound you hear, the sizzle. All right, now while the vegetables are cooking, we're going to take the acorn squash that we had cleaned earlier and just give it a rough chop. It's called a mirepoix, rough chop. This way it'll cook faster than it will in the big half molds that they are now in. And one thing you can do is you can just pick your whole cutting board up and go right over and put it in. We're going to be making about 2 quarts of soup here today. I'll put a bay leaf in. I like to have the bay leaf start to cook a little bit, but when you make soups and stocks and sauces, a bay leaf is one of your best friends. There's so much flavor. When we're finished, we have this beautiful hot chicken stock that we're going to add to our soup to give it its base. So I said we're going to make 2 quarts, and we'll put maybe 3 quarts in, and we'll use it for reduction purposes. And when you reduce your sauce or your stock, the flavor intensifies more. Okay. We put a little salt in there. Since we're not using a base, you're able to salt things. If you're using a chicken base or a vegetable base, and then we have a little fresh ground pepper. There we go. And we're going to let this simmer for about 30 minutes or so, a little more than a simmer actually. It will have to be boiling when we put the roux in, so the acorns are a little tough, so we'll just bring the heat up on it. All right, now that our squash soup has been cooking for a while and our acorn squash has gotten softer, this is the time where you add the roux. The roux, you let it sit for a little bit so that it comes together. It's like when you take a roast out of the oven, you let it sit for a couple minutes so the juices go back into the meat and it doesn't all run out. You want to put this in while your soup is at a boiling point and whisk it. Now I have not pureed my vegetables as of yet. Whether you use a stick blender or a food processor or anything, because I want to have the proper consistency. And then we'll puree it and adjust the thickness with some cream. And as you see, as it thickens, as it boils, it thickens. And once, it's not going to get any thicker than this, so there's no sense in boiling it. It would get thicker if we put more roux in. We have wonderful smell coming off of this. You can do this any way you'd like. If we're going to do a classic cream soup with it, you can put in maple syrup, you can put in brown sugar, you can put in cinnamon, mace, whatever. If you want to make it a fall, a holiday, Halloween type soup, you can do that. Now we're going to taste the soup to see if it's where we're at. The reason we taste the soup is because we want to make sure it has the right thickness and it has the right flavor punch we're looking for. This is a time where you can catch it and adjust seasonings and make sure that it comes out properly that you want. So, always use a spoon, don't dip your finger in there. Yeah, wow, that's pretty good. We did good on that. It's exactly where we want it to be. Okay, now we have the acorn squash soup ready to go. We're going to put it into a blender and puree it, adjust the seasoning, add a little cream, and we'll be ready, set, go. There we go. Make sure that the blender that you do use can handle hot food. Some of them can, some of them can't. And this one can. Okay. Lock it in. What I always do when I use a blender is I keep my hand on top and I push down in case the top is not secured properly. Okay. So we're going to put it on pulse. We're going to put it on medium to start with, and then we're going to go to high. Now, the reason we put it on the blender, we're looking to get a certain consistency out of it. We want a nice cream style soup out of it, and that's exactly what we're looking for. That is beautiful. So what we do is we go back into our pot. Okay, we turn the heat on again. And what we'll do is we're going to add a little bit of heavy whipping cream to thin it down and to give it more flavor and a silk-lined body to it. This is the product we're using. It's a heavy whipping cream. Don't buy whipped cream because it has sugar and other chemicals into it. This is the real deal. Some of it is ultra pasteurized, some isn't. So this is what we're looking for. What we do is just basically whisk our soup and pour the cream in. You can heat it. It wouldn't hurt to heat it, but it's fine. It's going into hot soup. And there we are. And it just adds, the finishing touch of it is, it's elegance to it. It's a silky, satiny finish and flavor to it, and you definitely can tell the difference. And this is how it comes out looking. A nice silky smooth soup. We'll put this in a bowl. We'll top with a little bit of fresh herbs. Now this, look at, isn't that beautiful? Just smooth. Has a pleasant sheen to it. It's got a wonderful smell to it. We'll just write that down, and I have a little bit of fresh rosemary and thyme that we'll just put on top of it here. And there's your finished soup. Okay, we just topped it with the fresh herb now, and like I said, when you work with fresh herbs, you always finish your food with the fresh herbs. Dry herbs go in during the cooking process, fresh herbs go in at the end.